Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I'm going to repot one of my iffy plants. If you don't know what my iffy plants are all about, you'll have to go back and look at some videos because I'm not mentioning it again. But I do have a set of iffy plants that are segregated from all the others for a not too pleasant reason. I also have an ulterior motive, which I'll go over as I go along. But basically my hygiene precautions will have to be a little bit over the top as a consequence of the potential content of this plant. Scissors being sterilised in the 70% rubbing alcohol, so that's underway. That's my little spray bottle with hydrogen peroxide, 3%, no more. Watch that number on the end because you can get 5 and 10% and it'll burn your plants. 3% is fine. That's to clean up the plant afterwards, and there's a good reason for that as well. And the idea is it's going to end up in one of my new clay pots. But let's get it out the pot first. See what we've got. Also, essential ingredient at 8 o'clock in the morning is another one of these. I need that. Right, ulterior motive as I go along. The reason for my iffy plants, certainly in the case of the Cattleyas and some others, was tied down to an individual source. I'm not going to name names, and that individual hasn't put anything on eBay for a very, very long time, and I thought they'd stop selling, but I checked this morning and they have some plants on eBay. If you want to find them, all you need to do is look out for somebody selling a job lot of 8 blooming sized Cattleyas for a buy it now or best offer price. And all I would ask you to do is, that's this plant. Now at this stage of its life, these roots here should have active growing tips on. They should not be dormant. Now I know there's a very good reason why mine are in this state, and if you look round those 8 plants, many pictures, nice big tape measure up the middle so you know how big they are, you know, it looks good, but I would ask you to look at the base of the plants. Do you see any nice clean white roots coming out of any of those plants? Do you see any green root tips anywhere on those plants? That's all I'm going to say. Right, so this has got moss growing in it. See, this is not an actively growing plant. This hasn't been watered for over a week. And the bark's still wet. The plant's not taking in the moisture at the moment. Now, luckily, because it's in bark, the top part hasn't gone soggy. And this is it's going to effectively be a rescue plant by the time I've finished with it. But I'm going to try because I like this little plant. It's been treated for its problem, and it's on a regular maintenance treatment for that reason, and I'm hoping that by giving it a clean up, getting rid of the dead roots effectively, that's not a dead root, not hanging on to that bark like that. If you look at the base of the plant, these are the old roots. These are useless, they're soggy. You can you know, they're just soggy roots. They serve no purpose. Yeah? They just don't. And I mean, at the moment, the way that was potted, the base of this pseudo bulb was in the media. I'm surprised that's not rotted, but it hasn't. But this older part of the plant's coming off because I want a nice plant sitting on the top of its nice new media. Yeah, there's some roots to trim off. You need to go careful on Cattleya roots. If you have a look at Olivia's Waterculture channel, she's done a video on Cattleya roots. Don't get fooled by the colour. It's very important. Just because a root is brown does not mean it's dead. You need to do the squeezy test. See, that's soggy. There is no life in that root, and I'm sure if I pull it, it'll just come off and leave a stringy bit behind. So what's your coloration on Cattleya roots? A brown root doesn't necessarily mean a dead root, and they can shoot out. So even if you've got a root that, you know, the ends are dead, but this bit still feels okay, well, trim it back to the good bit, because it will branch out in a lot of cases. So don't chop off all your roots unnecessarily. They're precious on Cattleyas. But it does seem that some of the waterculture people don't half get good root systems. I'm not tempted yet, but maybe one day. Okay, I'm going to trim that up and get it in its pot. As I said, the ulterior motive for this video was to get that information out about eBay, or I would feel guilty. But I'm not naming names, you know. But if you come across the description I've just come across, then do your own research. Have a good look at the plants. See what you think. I know what I think. Right, I'll be back in a minute when I've had a clean up. Hi, welcome back. I've given this the best clean up I can, and although some of these roots look brown, they're actually firm, so they are possibly viable. As I was washing it, I always look out for roots that go green. That means they're taking in water. There is very little, but on a plant that size that's got good leaves that will photosynthesize, there's enough for it to get going. You know, this is a good root. This is a good root. You know, and hopefully it will start to push new roots out. There are just signs of swellings at the base here. There's the start of a new root there. So providing it's a fighter, because the iffiness was confirmed as suspected, so I've got to keep it all separate, and you know, but I'm happy to do that with some plants. Now, this is my chunky bark, which I must admit is not as chunky as I was expecting, but it's chunky enough. And the idea of putting the Cattleyas in this stuff is that once they go in there, they stay. But because of the root system on there, I'm just going to take a bit out, because some of those roots will go down in the bark. But I don't want this plant in the media, I want it on the media. I want it sat on the top, but I just want some of those root tips to just be below the surface, so that it's got a chance of getting down in amongst this chunky bark. But wobbly roots is the worst thing you can have when you repot, so I will probably wire this in place, because it's not going to be sturdy enough otherwise. Just trying to make sure there's some media in under the base of the plant. Gaps are irrelevant. On this particular plant, I don't care if there are gaps around the roots. It's a Cattleya. They like air around their roots. So leaving the odd gap is not a big deal. If you think about it, there's gaps where the holes are. Now that's it, and as you can see, it's wobbly. I don't want any more media around those roots. That's good enough. But it's not firm, it's wobbly. So I'm going to wire that. Not quite sure how, because I haven't done one of these little pots before. What have we got? We've got 1, 2, have we got 4? Oops, see, I've only got to move it and it jumps out. I think there's only 3 hanging points instead of 4, but nonetheless there are 2 good ones, one there and one there, that will push a piece of wire over that rhizome. So let's have a go at that then. I use bonsai wire, not because it's great, but because I've got so much of it, and I don't tend to wire my bonsai anymore, apart from wiring them in their pots. A bit like this really. So in theory that should just go straight up through the hole. Pull that through, over the top of the rhizome and back down the other side. Probably knock the plant flying because wire is obviously stiff. but we'll see what we can do. It can be adjusted afterwards. It's not the end of the world. And I want that to come out through that little hole there. I'm using my thinnest wire simply because it's flexible, and the chunkier stuff might not even go through those tiny little holes. This is not as easy as it seems, simply because the holes are punched from the outside and they have a burr on the inside, which, no, I'm going to have to go in that way. Not as tidy, but I need the job done. Tidiness is not the objective here, it's to get the job done. Get in there. Yeah, that burr on the inside of the pot is being a nuisance, shall we say. Stopping the wire pulling through and being a nuisance, but nonetheless, I'm just going to pull that. You can see the plant's already out of the pot. I'll sort that out in a minute once I've got this wire in place. Put some more media around the base. The fact that this is sitting right up high, quite honestly, is what I want. I want the plant sitting on the top of the pot. What I'm really after, I know it might sound silly, is some of the roots will go down in the media. That's just going to happen. But I want quite a lot of the roots to come out over the edge of the pot and attach to the pot. I want it to look more Cattleya-like. I know what I mean, even if you don't. Right, that's quite secure now, because the wire is quite firm, and I can add a bit of media around. It's still not as firm as I'd like, but where else can I put a wire? I think that one wire is going to do it. That's quite firm. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So I'm just going to take that end off. Bring that back over the top of the pot to make the end tidy and not keep cutting my finger on it. And that's about it. Now I can just place a little bit more around the base of those roots. But I really want these plants to be as near bare rooted as I can get them, but that's up to the plant. You know, if it wants to bury down into the media, it can. If it wants to come out over the side of the pot, it can. I'm giving the plant the choice to grow the way it would choose to do. Just making sure there's a little bit of media touching each bark. A little bit of bark touching each root. That way when I water it, at least the roots get a chance to hydrate. As I say, there's little branches showing on some of these roots, and there's a new root showing at the base. So we'll give it a go. Yeah, that's quite firm now. Jolly good. And obviously once it gets going and the roots start doing their thing, that wire can come off if necessary, although it's not hurting. Always remember your tag. And just so as you see, that is, it's a Brasso Cattleya, and it's Little Mermaid, and it's the variety Janet, and it was once upon a time awarded by the American Orchid Society. There we go then, that's one done. I'm hoping that some of the subsequent ones I do have got better root systems, but as I have declared, there is a good reason why the root system on this one is not as good as it should be. Hopefully it's a little fighter, and it's going to fight through its problem, push out new roots, maintain the green tips and grow on. It's got every chance. It's been treated, it's on a program of treatment, so all dated and in my notes, and it will get its in fact it'll be its second treatment, probably in a few days time. But anyway, because that got absolutely drowned when I was cleaning it off, I'm not even going to water that for a couple of days. I'm going to let those roots dry off and then water it. It's a little, the idea is to get, it's almost like bare rooted but not quite. There is media there, but there's so much air in there through all these bits, through the bottom, and as I said, with the plants sitting on the media, the roots can't stay too wet, can they? So that's that one done, and beware of the seller on eBay. That's all I can say. Just watch out. Okay, see you next time. That's another clay pot used. I've got more to do. You know, I shouldn't be repotting at this time of day. It's it's only about 8:30 in the morning. I should be watering, not messing about repotting. I just wanted to get that message out. As I say, it was important to me. See you again next time then. Bye for now.